As we're getting started, I got a couple of things I'd like to ask you to do. With the Northwest District, we've been working on improving our presence on social media, and we would like to ask you guys today to pull your phones out, and as the meeting's going on, if there's things that come up that's interesting to you, or you're talking to somebody with a creative approach, please share that. And I recognize that you're at our breakfast and that the district is involved in educating everybody that they come into about the news about the near Northwest area. So if you do that for us, we would really appreciate it. If also, if you could tag us in those messages so we can keep track of it all, we'd really appreciate that also. And there's information on your table to give you to make that happen. As we're getting started today, I'd like very much to, the Near Northwest District is managed by a board of directors, and we have several of them here with us today. And I'd like to just introduce them quickly. Jerry Squares is here. And this is Jerry's last position as our board member. So Jerry, we appreciate everything you've done. And Jay Shawnee is here, right up here at front. Jay's been with us for several years now. And Dr. Quentin Wright is here from Lone Star College. So we appreciate the work that they do. And trust me, we do keep our board members involved, I guess is the best way to put it. We also have a number of people I'd like to recognize our elected officials and their representatives. Christina Walsh is here from Penny Borealis Shaw District, number 148, right back here. We also have Viola Garcia here representing, oh dear, they're crossing more stuff off.
She's here.
Okay. And then we've got Morona Benji. I was close. Thank you. Okay. And here comes another one of our board members. Heidi Sheasley is our chair. We also have, going down my list, Sheldon Moss is here from Lone Star College also, right over here. We appreciate that. Now, I've got a group of guys right now that I really want to pay a particular attention to, because these are they're from Alan Rosen's Precinct 1 office. They're our constables. And these are the men and women who serve all day, working in our district most of the time, working with Walter, working with me, working throughout the entire district. And they're the ones that are making the real difference on the streets up here right now. And they are Lieutenant Carlos McClurkin is right here. We also have Sergeant Derek Grandstaff. It's right back there. We have Corporal Marcus Bascus. Did I say that right? Okay. And Deputy Fabian Robinson, right back there. Did I get everybody? I missed a line, I'm sorry. Deputy Tyrone Newsom. They didn't have a check mark by your name. So
oh, they're all here.
I got it. And also then from HPD, I want to recognize Commander Ray Leon from the Northwest Command right here. And I will say that your involvement with our district has really benefited everything that's going on in that corner of our district, because there's a lot of activity going on down there, and I know you guys are on top of it. So I appreciate that a lot. So, and that takes care of everybody, I believe. It also, please go back and get more food if you'd like to throughout the whole program, and go coffees. We're never going to run out of coffee. If we do, Jan's not doing her job, okay? We've been showing our slideshow, and the slideshow, we show it every time we have one of these breakfasts, and the slides just keep getting more and more and more. There's so much change taking place. And this slideshow is showing new developments, new renovations that are taking place on existing properties, and they also highlight some of the new businesses that are opening up here within the area. And we're seeing a lot of this right now. I also want to give you a few quick updates on the projects that are going on. The West Little York Pedestrian Improvement Project, we had all the damage repaired that happened with the utility discussion, and it's been repaired, and we're in the final version of wrapping that whole project up to be done with it. The West Tidwell Pedestrian Improvement Project is just getting started. It's being finalized, and it's going to go to bid in the very near future. And I'm going to say that within about 30 days. This will replace the sidewalks from Antoine to TC Jester on Tidwell, and will open up a gateway to the White Oak Bike Trail on Tidwell. The intersection improvement projects on Bingle and West Tidwell, construction will start very soon on that. A pre-con meeting is taking place this next week, so we're in good shape with that one. Funding has been approved for the West Little York 2 project, which is going to take it from where we started over here on West Little York, and it's going to go over to TC Jester, and that's going to be just a continuation of that project with new sidewalks from Victory and TC Jester. We hope that the whole design process will get started at the beginning of this year, hopefully. And then CDAB, our crime deterrence for apartment and businesses, that project is really starting to build momentum with the number of people in attendance. It's bringing a lot of police officers together to talk to each other, but it's also bringing together a lot of apartment managers, a lot of apartment owners who are getting to know each other and working together, and to help get the message out that the focus on safety is everybody's responsibility. And it's really good to see us. If any of you are interested in attending that meeting, please give Walter your card, and he'll make sure you get the invitation to it. Our next meeting is a week from Thursday. When is it? March 21st at lunchtime here at the office. So with that said, what I'd like to do is introduce Steve Stelzer. Steve is going to be our speaker today. Steve has had 30 years of diverse architectural experience in Houston with a focus on construction management. As program director of the city's Green Building Resource Center, Steve offers green building strategies for plans brought in by the public. He develops and maintains green strategy displays. He coordinates green building tours and facilitates educational programs on green buildings. Steve is focused on making Houston a much greener place to live and work. He's currently president of the Citizens Environment, can't read my handwriting, Coalition. He has also served as board member of the American Institute of Architects and the U.S. Green Building Council's Gulf Coast Region chapter, and is vice chair of the City of West University's Place Recycling and Solid Waste Reduction Board. That's a lot right there. Steve is as committee chair of the 2013 AIA Gulf Coast Green Symposium. He's the principal author of the Houston Corridor Guide to Sustainable Development. Steve has a Bachelor of Science degree, from Science of Architecture from the Ohio State University, and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Houston. So Steve, welcome to the day, and we'll give you the microphone. If you want to wander around with the mic, you can take that in. Okay? Take it away.
Well, great to be here. I'll tell you what, though, a nice surprise. On your board, Heidi Sheasley. Known her a long time. You should go out to Tree Search Farms if you want to see plants that are completely well suited for the Houston area. That's what Heidi does. And so that falls right into, any kind of green building. not on the script here today, but the site around your building, it falls into the dominion of green building. So having plants that are well suited for the local environment is a really good idea. So, hey, good to see you, Heidi. So resilience, it's pretty complex. We have a resilience plan in Houston that was approved a couple of years ago, and it's 188 pages. So there's some reading material if you're having a little trouble getting to sleep some night. One of the items in a resilient city is to have updated building codes. Believe it or not, we just got done doing that. The City of Houston has adopted the 2021 building codes, I'm happy to say. And this is a monumental, basically, undertaking. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 codes. And we had to do all the meetings and stakeholder meetings and all that kind of stuff. So that's been going on for the past couple of years. And they went into effect on the 1st of January. So, hooray, we have the most modern codes. The next code that's coming out is the 24s. You might be going, Steve, it's 24 already. But, they take a while to kind of get through and get through the national convention and approved and all that kind of stuff. So we really can't be completely up to the year, all right? So I'm certified in the energy code, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background in this 2021 energy code, all right? So commercial properties consume 18% of the U.S. energy consumption. So there's a good reason to try to keep that energy consumption down just a hair. The 2021 version of the energy code is significantly more efficient than the 2015 and the 2018 codes. So it's a big step up. Does anybody have commercial properties? I kind of thought there would be, so I kind of focused on commercial, and I could have actually, one hand, could have actually been talking about residential, but so you win some, you lose some. Parking garage lighting control requirements is a new thing, right? We want the lights off when nobody's parking. Makes sense? Things like that. And then there's energy monitoring requirements and things like that. So there's some mechanical changes. I'm just going to briefly go through this since this doesn't really affect you at your house. And your mechanical engineers are going to be making sure this happens. We did a couple of interesting, optional things this time. We have had a solar-ready appendix in effect for residential for the past decade. But now we have a solar-ready appendix for commercial, which you can do as an option. So in other words, it's not the code, but if you want to get a heads up for what's coming in the future and solar is, moving along, let's say you want your building to be ready for solar, like maybe you want to get some solar panels, in the next few years. Then this solar-ready appendix is a good thing to follow. So basically, right off the bat, buildings only need to be 5 stories high because the roof isn't going to have that many solar panels to help much on a 30-story, building, all right? So right off the bat. And then there's things to put in the construction documents. There's a solar-ready zone area up on the roof, and so we don't have to get into every little nitpicky thing, but just so you know, this is kind of what codes look like. The whole idea is to keep obstructions out of the solar-ready zone, like vents through the roof and things like that. Why is that? Because they're a pain to move when you're going to be putting in solar panels. That's all there is to it. So let's just not put them there in the first place. And then you got to document the roof loads. You don't have to design for solar. You just have to be able to have the roof loads there so that someone who's going to design for the solar panels can easily see what the roof loads are, okay? And then you have to have a pathway so that you can run your conduits and wiring and what have you. And then you have an area for storage because we're going to be wanting to have batteries and some way of storing the solar energy, all right? So that's the whole idea with with the solar ready. So we also have electric vehicles, EV ready, and these are optional. But the whole idea was that the city wanted people to be able to have something to look at in case they wanted to prepare for more EVs. And so what's going to be in the code, because the next code is going to look probably a lot like this appendix. That's one of the things that code officials do, is kind of prepare people with these appendices. So it's really kind of a nifty idea, and I'm really all for it. So there is appendices in both residential and commercial. And you can imagine that the residential is a lot easier. Hey, just do this for your garage. And commercial is going to be a lot more, complex. So this is kind of like what the code looks like. Notice the appendix up at the top. And so right off the bat, we have to explain what things are. There's EV capable spaces and EV ready spaces. And so, you can get into the weeds real fast with this. But one of the things that's interesting is that when you have a parking garage, the number of spaces is going to be affected by what are the buildings using the parking garage? What are their occupancies? Okay. So when you just have a parking garage just sitting out there, not connected to anything, believe it or not, you don't have to put very many EV ready spaces in it. But the minute you're serving an office building or serving some specialty type of building, right, then you have to have, and these are optional, so you don't have to have them, but, if we were to make it code, then you would have to have a certain number of spaces. So this is what that looks like. And interestingly, Group A and Group B, which are high occupancy buildings, auditorium type buildings, the EVSE and the EV capable spaces, you can see like 10% and 15% kind of thing. But when you get down to residential, believe it or not, Group R1, which is multifamily, you need 75% EV capable spaces when the code comes through. Right. I mean, so what's happening is that the code bodies, in talking with DOE and EPA, they're seeing that, people are going to be buying electric cars. That's all there is to it. And so that's what they're betting the ranch on. It's a little early to make this the code, but we want to have this out there for people to look at in case they want to plan ahead. Okay? So one of the things that is important for people doing commercial buildings is to understand, and residential, by the way, these lists are very similar. There's a certain number of items that need to be on the plans, completely on the plans, and very specific about it. So insulation materials and their R values, those have to be specifically called out. You'd be surprised, how many not so good sets of plans there are, okay? Window factors, all these mechanical system design criteria, water heating. Then there's economizers, which is getting way into mechanical engineering, so don't worry about that. Controls, okay? Controls are a big thing. We want the lights to turn off when nobody's there. We want the AC to be set back so that we're not freezing the building in the middle of the night when nobody's there. All these things that make sense. We need to have controls so that this is not going on because people just, walk out of the building and everything's still running. Anyway, all kinds of things that I could get into. There's also a big deal difference. In residential, we have had pressure testing to make sure that the air leakage is minimized in houses. And now it's the same thing is going to happen for commercial buildings. You're going to have to be able to prove that your buildings are tight. One of the things that really causes more energy to be used is that if your buildings and homes are leaky and you're getting all this outside air coming in through cracks and stuff and not designed to come into your air conditioning unit, for example. So leaks coming around the windows, leaks coming through all kinds of dumb stuff really means you're going to use more air conditioning, okay, or more heat if you're up in the north, something like that. So that's very, very important. So building envelope performance, we're getting into the weeds, and then there's a final commissioning report that has to be done. So anybody who's doing commercial understands what commissioning is. And Again, building thermal envelope testing. We did do an amendment so that you don't have to test every single multifamily unit in a multifamily building. We can do representative sampling. So that we have those requirements spelled out so that you just do, 25%. You don't have to do all 100%. And then, so then there's some other things, automatic start and stop, fan efficiency, all these things are just like, way over the top. There is a book that property owners might want to get called The Significant Changes so they can see what's different between the old code and the new code. And then, we have ComCheck, and then for homes, we have ResCheck that are the most used programs to determine compliance with the energy code. And they have been updated to the 2021s, not a problem. Everybody can keep using them. And then there's, this is about lighting and how lighting needs to be more energy efficient. And this is kind of a not such a big deal because LEDs have completely taken over and they use a lot less energy. You can't, in America, we don't even sell, as of August, don't even sell incandescent bulbs anymore. Isn't that interesting? Except the ones that they have in stock that they're trying to get rid of. So we're already there as far as lighting efficiency, but it's a big deal. And boy, slides didn't come out as well as I thought. Jeez. Anyway, light reduction controls. I mean, not only do we want lights to use less energy, we want them to be on less when they're not needed, okay? Garage lighting, and then we also have lighting for plant growth, so those need to be under control as well. I don't know if you've noticed, there's a lot more buildings where they're trying to have, and a good idea, it makes for a healthier indoor air quality to have plants giving off oxygen, right, and taking in CO2, right? Isn't that wonderful? That could happen in a building. So then what has the city been doing lately to save energy? We have a decarbonization and benchmarking policy going on, and I'm very happy about that. Decarbonization, in case you don't know, just really means reduction and elimination of emitting carbon dioxide, which is what happens when you burn fossil fuels, okay? So benchmarking is keeping track, basically keeping track of how much energy you're using. This is very important. So emissions that we're tracking, greenhouse gases, and most of them are coming from power plants. So buildings aren't really burning that much to use electricity, but they're the ones consuming all the electricity. So it's very important that buildings become more energy efficient so that we don't have to have as much power plant burning of coal and what have you. Then natural gas is a problem. It's better than coal, but it leaks all the way from the wellhead all the way to the building, and then heaven knows if it's leaking in your building, okay? So very important there. And then another thing that people don't quite know about that much is refrigerants. Now, refrigerants, if they leak, they're thousands of times worse than CO2 as far as a greenhouse gas, okay? So if you ever have a leak in your air conditioning unit, please get that fixed. Do not let that stuff leak out. I had a leak in mine. I had to have 4 pounds of refrigerant replaced. I did the math. That was equal to 2 vehicles for a year. Yes, 2 gas-burning vehicles for a year equals 4 pounds of refrigerant getting leaked into the atmosphere. I was crushed. Traumatized, and you hear me. I mean, I still am. All right. So we really don't want to have refrigerants vented to the atmosphere. All right. So we're using Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which is fantastic for keeping track of everything. This is my building, and so this is what it looks like when you get on the site. And so doing a map of where everything is. All right. And I'm training people in public works on some public works buildings for this very thing. And so interestingly, this is what a decarbonization plan implementation looks like. We discovered ESPM awareness. I put that red line there and noticed things were kind of going up. And then upon awareness and doing something, we started having downward trends. See, that's what happens. If you're blissfully unaware of a problem, then the problem's going to continue. So, believe it or not, my building was underperforming at the high point of energy consumption in 2017 when we did a retro commissioning program and did that in 2018. And we had to spend $8,000 to fix some of the things that were going wrong. And in 3 years, we saved $293,000. So the return on investment of watching what's going on is fantastic. Now, this is a big building, so big buildings have the most at stake. It's $90,000 a year. I mean, can you imagine having that just like added to your budget? I mean, isn't that wonderful? All right, this is what the graph looked like. So we moved in 2011, things are going along. Then they started going out of whack because some maintenance things weren't done quite properly. And you can see the first blue bar, all of a sudden, boom, we drop like a rock because we fixed some things. Those are the energy bills dropping like a rock. And we're smelling like a rose. I mean, it was fantastic. So now what can you do at your house? This is the Resilient Home Guideline, okay? Yes, I want Houston to be more resilient. It's no good to be out of power after an extreme weather event. Anybody lose power besides me during that freeze a couple of years ago? That was gross, okay? I don't ever want to do that again. So what's going on with that? So this guideline, I designed this with the American Institute of Architects Committee on the Environment. It was such a great collaboration. Basically, you look at the diagnostic toolkit, okay, which is going to be 8 questions with 4 answers, okay? And you pick all your answers. It's not like a multiple choice where only one is right. Pick any of them that work for you, okay? So are you prepared for a disaster at home? Is your home prepared for a disaster? Is your yard prepared for a disaster, okay? Does your house reduce summer heat stress? Does your house help with energy bill stress? And does your house help with indoor air quality? Does your house help with work, commute, and isolation stress? And are there some other household strategies? You also have to have an other, okay? So meanwhile, as you're picking these, it's going to add it up for you and tell you how you're doing. So we've had a range from 20 to 73 out of 100, so it's pretty interesting. In fact, here was kind of our percentages. We seem to have 50% of people who've taken this so far are pretty stoked on how resilient their house is. So, hey, works for me. And so basically all you have to do is you do not have to put in your email unless you want to get notified about this. But if you put in your zip code and hit send, then you're sending your data, just your answers, to us so that we can sort of sort it by zip code and find out which areas need some help or don't need so much help or what have you. So it helps with the city doing their planning to get more resilient homes out there, okay? So basically, afterwards, you can look at, we have kind of a deep dive into each question. And so you can look at one of the answers and get additional information. And then there's links to places on the internet to find out more about it. So it's optional. It's for the people who want to learn more. Maybe they're kind of disturbed about a couple of things that popped up. And then so the introduction here was talking about, hey, anybody want to use their phone? And so there you go. You can download this. You can actually take this on your phone because we have it set up to be on your screen at home or on your phone. It's really pretty easy to take. And so if you want to go ahead and do the Resilient Home Guideline, you can actually put your camera on that thing and you'll take you right to it. And it doesn't take long to do, and it will inform you what's resilient. That's the whole thing about it. There's these questions, and then the answers go, oh, okay, so that must make me more resilient if I do that. Yeah, because there are all the things that you can pick, and then if you don't pick it, that means you're not doing that, and then you're not as resilient. There's also weightings. There's questions that are worth 1 point and questions that are worth 4 points. So that informs you, oh, well, this must be a little bit, stronger, and this must be a little bit, less strong. So it's really a nice little self-informing type survey to take that doesn't take very long at all. So that's it for, I think I did 15 minutes. All right. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So what about white roofs? Have you done any calculations? Because the problem with the earth is sunlight comes in as white light, gets turned into infrared radiation, and then the CO2 kind of traps that. So anytime you can reflect sunlight back as white light, white glow, instead of turning it to infrared radiation, which is what you get from a black glow. Have you done the math?
Basically, I don't do the math, but the math is all over the place. Okay, so here's the story on that. One of the leaders in the country, believe it or not, is the Florida Solar Energy Center, FSEC, and so they've been researching that stuff for like 3 decades, and I've been following them and going to their symposiums. Okay, bottom line, a white roof is the most reflective roof that you can have. Okay, and a black roof is the most absorbing roof that you have. So, boom, there's the extremes. Now, interestingly, what happens with a white roof is it gets dirty. What they found is that a light gray roof is as effective as a dirty white roof. So if you're kind of not inclined to be washing your white roof, then these light gray, and they're all over the place. They're completely available. And so a lot of homeowners associations are starting to understand this, and they are removing the restrictions. There are restrictions out there, people, to only have black roofs. That is a complete energy efficiency mistake. Okay, I'm here to tell you that. All the energy conservation entities out there all recommend against black roofs. So if you ever have an opportunity to be in any kind of an HOA meeting or anything like that, try to get them to lighten up on this black roof mandate. It is a mistake. And when you're buying asphalt shingles, they're the same price, okay? So it's a choice to not do black. Weathered wood is going to be just perfect. Everybody's happy with weathered wood, okay? And it's going to reflect a lot more than a black roof. Did that answer your question?
No, you didn't give any numbers. You didn't say the white roof is effective, it's doubling the efficiency of your AC when it comes to being good to the environment. Or what other number you could give.
Yeah, you're right. I don't have that at my immediate, disposal up here. So apologies. Do you have that number? Go ahead.
I've got a building that might be converted to a school. And the dominant energy cost, of course, is the air conditioner for that, converting that office building to a school. Because of the codes that the government writes for schools, it's going to triple the amount of energy consumption for that building because of the fresh air required for those kids. So what's the logic of that? It's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars more for AC and $100,000 more, $300,000 more to get the AC installed because school codes require more air exchange. Just thought I mentioned that.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. First of all, I think we want our schools to be as healthy as possible because children need as much sort of healthy environment as possible because that's when their brains are developing, their bodies are developing. And when you change occupancy of a building, that triggers complete conversion to the energy code. A lot of these buildings were built at a time when there was no energy code, and some were built when the energy code was a lot less strenuous. So the whole idea with an energy code is to put in equipment and envelope treatment and insulation and what have you so that energy consumption is lessened over the life of the building. So it's a perfect opportunity when you're changing occupancy like this to get concurrent or current with the energy code so that these schools can be using less energy. Now, you're right, there's more fresh air required generally, for students. The the other benefit of having a new air conditioning system is, the newer systems are going to be more efficient and they're going to cost less to run, and they can even be smaller, which costs less to install than a great big unit, because you need more oomph for a building that's not very energy efficient. And things are so much better than even a decade ago with the air conditioning, mechanical abilities, that this is a perfect time to do it. And there is no free lunch. And we really don't want to just have the ability for a school to start up in some old building with potential air quality problems and to save a dime. I mean, I'm sorry. Things cost money in this country, and that's really what we need to do. So if it sounds like I'm not going along sort of in the same spirit of your complaint about that, that's because I don't believe in that. Yes, sir. Yes, I am. I work in the Public Works Department, and I'm in the Houston Permitting Center downtown at 1002 Washington. Yes. Yes, sir.
Back on the previous question, for building owners that are trying to improve their buildings, what's a good source to go to find out about the incentives that are being offered to help relieve the cost?
Feel free to go to my website. The Green Building Resource Center website is codegreenhouston.org. So code is in building code, green is in green building, Houston.org, not com, not gov, org. I have a tab up at the top, incentives. Yeah. By the way, for residential incentives, it's basically, I hate to tell you, the IRS. And when you install things, you're going to want to put it, there's an IRS form, and you would fill that out with the things you put in. There's a lot of incentive for builders, but you're not going to see a direct result of that, right? Like, did they deploy that when they built your house or not? But, the IRS will definitely give you credit for installing some energy efficient items. And it's pretty complete. I did a presentation on that form, and it's like at least a 3-page form. And so it's bing, 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 and very, very helpful to figure out what you can get a discount on, a rebate on. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Which is, we've had some residential areas that are low income. They came to us and asking about incentives, meaning they don't qualify for IRS tax deductions. Is there some kind of program? I know the state of Texas doesn't offer incentives.
Well, what I was just talking about is IRA. I don't understand. They're available basically to anyone, and yeah, this is for when you're doing your taxes, you can get an additional form to submit with your taxes that is going to give you a discount on what you installed to save energy in your house. Now, is that a little more clear than what I was saying? I might have gone over that too fast. Yeah.
When you talked about a couple of things, one was
Yes.
tightening up residential structure, I guess commercial too. Is there anything codified as far as protecting indoor air quality when you're encapsulating?
Yes.
Or are they actually codified to enhance your indoor air quality?
Yes, it's actually codified. The air sealing, SEAL, not CEIL, air sealing requirements are a page and a half. And, with residential, you have to test that with a blower door test. And the air sealing, it's also very important to, you have to indicate the air barrier and moisture barriers on the plans. And what that does, you may think that's just about air tightness, but it's also about indoor air quality. Because when you have moist, hot air coming through cracks and other places other than the intake to your air conditioning unit, the moisture can then get stuck in the walls, around your windows, what have you. And then when any of that moisture condenses, then makes a food source, okay, for a food and water source, because for mold to grow and other microbial growth that's not good for you, that can be horrible indoor air quality, okay, that's what happens when moisture runs rampant through your building, okay? So it totally matters. The other sources of indoor air quality are bringing in materials that off-gas things, okay? So that's very important. One of the things that has improved a lot over the years are some of these plywoods products when they started realizing that interior plywood has a whole bunch of formaldehyde off-gassing from the glues, okay? And so now it's becoming more evident that some products, they're not using that type of plywood and particle board and what have you. So you can have a lot less formaldehyde, which is a carcinogen. So, it's very important to watch what you're going to improve inside your house and watch these building materials. Paints have gone just unbelievably from horrifying over the past probably decade and a half to you can get zero VOC paints. And I totally recommend zero VOC paints, not low VOC paints, okay? Why? Zero VOC paints are a different formulation than the low VOC paints. And so they are much better for your health, much lower odor, much more ability to have that done in a commercial instance, for instance, while people are at work and what have you. And it's much better for your infants. Anyone who has any babies or grandbabies, when you're working the renovation of the new baby room, you want to take very, very good care of your selections on what you want to put in a baby's room, okay? And you really want to watch these things to make sure that they're not off-gassing. Infants are highly susceptible to air pollutants. Yes, ma'am.
Financing options, especially the less market rate for these improvements.
Yes. I just did a fairly underattended PACE webinar 2 weeks ago. I'm a little bummed. Basically, what PACE does is it makes available lower than market interest rates for improving commercial buildings. Now, this is not available for your house. Sorry about that. But for commercial buildings, you can get lower interest loans to put in these energy efficient sort of things that I've been talking about. And the payback is going to be spectacular. This past webinar I did was basically success stories. The first two that I've done from 3 years ago and 2 years ago was, hey, come on, you need to sign up for this PACE thing. It's really great. And of course, everybody would watch that and go, well, I don't think it's really great and I'm not going to do it, or, whatever. And so there's a couple of developers who in town who have been just really doing all kinds of fantastic projects. In fact, what they're doing is they're buying old projects like an old mall and an old YMCA and converting it to, like an upscale gym or something like that. And so the numbers are fantastic, and they can have all this lower income that's going to basically get paid back by the savings from their energy bills being so much lower. So it's completely there. The whole concept of lower energy bills is out there and working. It's just a matter of discovering it. I mean, I discovered my building not performing. And it's the same kind of thing as this PACE. I don't know if we could have applied for PACE or not, but the cost was so low to just do it. You saw the return on investment was ridiculous. But when you get into a significant renovation project, this can really be a fantastic savings. So I'm going to have that recording on my website probably by next week. And so if you want to, go to codegreenhouston.org and pull down the events tab instead of the previous tab I talked about, the incentives tab, you'll be able to see that. It's not up yet. I'm working on it, okay? But we'll get there. You got another question? Okay, yes, sir.
One thing you do have to be careful with, if you're eating with gas, you shut down the air information. You got a problem, well, guess what? CO, carbon monoxide. About 40 years ago, when I was a director of engineering in a housing before here, about 7,000 family housing units, we did a lot of work producing air filtration. We had 4 cases and several deaths from carbon monoxide. So we had to go in and put the makeup air directly into combustion chambers and gas furnaces and whatnot. Also, air heat exchangers, you got a large area coming in like the school, you built all the waste. The cooling of the heat, you do an air heat exchanger. Well, there's no free lunch. When you cut down air filtration, even on the residents, if you gas, you're going to have a monoxide problem the way the house goes. So you have to take the air, direct it to the combustion chamber. That's just happening from easy. Then you got to heat all on the air that comes in.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. Did everybody hear that? It's very, very important with gas appliances and gas furnaces to make sure that combustion gases are exhausted properly when you have a tight house, because otherwise you can have combustion gases building up. So I've gone completely overboard with that when I talk about it. Because not having an exhaust fan in your kitchen is a terrible mistake. Every time you turn on that stove, you're getting pure methane because it takes a little moment of time for that flame to start. Methane is not good to breathe, okay? And then if your stove is not working perfectly and there's a buildup of carbon monoxide instead of carbon dioxide, then you have these problems. So any house that becomes tighter without proper exhaust fans is a big mistake. So I'm just basically repeating what you just said, okay? So this is all built into the codes. You can't build a new tight house without having exhaust fans in the kitchen. And you have to have your equipment, if you have gas-fired equipment, has to be properly exhausted or you're not going to get passed in your inspection, okay? So that is automatically happening with new residences and new commercial buildings. The problem is when you do any kind of a addition or remodeling and you don't do that. Now, significant remodeling is going to have to get a permit and it's going to come through plan review, and we're going to be looking for that, okay? It's in the code, even for additions and renovations. But, first of all, not everybody lives inside the city limits of Houston, and they could be out there just winging it. The energy code is a state code, all right? So you are basically held to the energy code, even if you live in an unincorporated area. But you're kind of at the mercy of whoever's doing your construction for you. You know, are they paying attention to that? Are you paying attention to that? So the code is there for your health, safety, and welfare. And so if you're going to not pay attention to it, do so at your own peril, because the right things have been put out there for people. And it's interesting. People make bad decisions every day. And what can you do about it? Okay. Thank you for bringing that up.
Steve, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Steve, thank you again very much for being here. I also want to thank all of you for being here today. It's been a very interesting program. As you're leaving today, I want you to pick up a Save the Date program. It's got a number of activities that are coming up in the near future, and some that are coming out in the our National Night Out is coming in October 3rd. So we're looking down the road at this stuff, but we want to make sure that you can get involved in that particular activity. That's our largest National Night Out in the city of Houston, and we like to start trumpeting it now so that everybody can get on the schedule. See Walter to sign up for it. We also, our next activity is on June 6th, which will be our next breakfast. And we hope that everybody will be here. We're working on have been working for quite a while, actually, on getting our speaker. We're not ready to announce it as of yet, but we're very close to having a great speaker assigned. And once you get your invitation, make sure you sign up fast, because it'll be a sellout once we get it set up. And it looks like it's going to happen. It's going to happen quickly. So I want to, again, thank you all very much for being here. There's still more coffee and there's still more food back there. So please feel free to hang around for a while. Thank you all very much.